Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany, where I have new videos every week about books and the geeky mom lifestyle. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my October TBR. It is a little bit mind-boggling to me. It's already October. 2020 has just been a year, guys, but we are moving right along. Hope 2021 will be better. And for October, I have a lot of exciting things to announce. Just an FYI, there are 3 books on my TBR that I'm not going to be talking about in this video. So if you want to know what those books are, check out my TBR for the Fortnite Frights readathon. That's a separate video that's going to be going up in just a couple of days. I am going to be participating in this really cool readathon with Seiji from The Artisan Geek. So check that out to learn more about Fortnite Frights and see 3 other books than what is on this TBR. There's one crossover because it's my Patreon book club pick. And that is in fact a perfect segue to my Patreon book club pick of the month. Every month my patrons get to vote on a book that we will read together. We do a different genre every month, and for October the genre was horror. I think I gave them 5 or 6 spooky books to pick from, and the one that was definitely the winner was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I am really excited for this. I have never read Riley Sager and I've wanted to. I know people love his books and I've been wanting to give him a try, and this will be the perfect opportunity. Home Before Dark is kind of a haunted house story. It follows a woman who returns to her childhood home, which was supposedly haunted, that she grew up in. And she was never a believer, but her dad made money by writing a book about their family's experience living in this house. So this reminds me a little bit of The Haunting of Hill House, at least the TV show version of it. I haven't read the book, but the TV show is great. And yeah, so we'll see. This is the Patreon book club pick. We're going to be reading this. If you guys want to join in, there's always a link down below. As always, huge thanks to all of my patrons. I greatly appreciate your support and couldn't do this without you. And a special shout out goes to my patrons at the new release hardcover level and above, currently including Trina from Bookish Trina, Ashley from Books with Ashley, Jillian from Jillian's Book Chatter, Maggie from Stormy Reads a Lot, and Teresa Marie from That Gemini Reader. Thank you so much to all of you for your support. Every month, my patrons are also entered into a raffle, and the winner gets to pick a book that they want to see me read and review in the coming month. For October, the winner was Lee from Literary Lee, and the book that she selected for me to review in October was Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. I am actually very thrilled with this choice because I have been meaning to read this book for like 2 years. One time I started it and did like a soft DNF because I just wasn't in the mood for it, but I've always wanted to come back to it because I feel like I'm probably gonna really enjoy this. It's kind of a dystopian paranormal urban fantasy book following a main character who is a monster hunter who's Native American, and I have just heard so many great things about this. I've been wanting to read it, and this is like exactly the push that I need to read it this month. And sneak peek for that other video, this might not be the only book from this author that I will be reading in October. Hint, hint. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to some of the other books that are on my TBR. I have quite a few books that were sent to me for review that I'm planning on reading this month. First up, I have a indie published title. This is The Last Angel Warrior, book 1 in the Caleb Chronicles by John W. Wells III. I think this is coming out in like October, if I'm not mistaken. It's a YA urban fantasy story following a 16-year-old boy whose adoptive parents try to kill him on his birthday, and then he ends up running away from the Order, a secret society seeking the blood of the last angel warrior to raise a lost goddess. So it's kind of his introduction into this whole magical world that he didn't know existed, and finding out that maybe he isn't who he thinks he is either. So sounds like it's gonna be a fun one. Planning on reading that this month. Then I have a contemporary romantic comedy. This is The Wedding Date Disaster by Avery Flynn. This is another one that was sent to me for review that looks fun. This one came out through Entangled Publishing in September, and it follows a woman who is going back home for a wedding and is supposed to be escorted by her best friend to help her get through the weekend, but instead she finds waiting for her at the airport his evil twin, whatever evil means in this case, and of course sparks fly. So I think this is like an enemies to lovers trope, which seems like it'll be fun. Another romance, and this time a holiday one. This is Return to Virgin River by Robin Carr. This one was sent to me by Little Bird Publicity, and apparently this is her first time writing in the Virgin River series in 8 years. This one is a holiday romance. I have not read the Virgin River stuff, but I know it's a popular Netflix show, so I might check out the show at some point too, but this just looked really fun, and I'm always here for a holiday romance. Next, I have 2 more physical arcs. Both of these are coming out November 17th, and they're very different books, but both ones that I'm quite excited for. First up, we have No Fat Gloss by Essa Hansen. This one is coming out through Orbit, and it is a debut space opera with some queer representation, I believe, that's own voices. Sounds really interesting and action-packed, and early reviews look good, so I'm hoping to read that this month. And then, for a very interesting looking YA novel, we have This Is Not the Just Show by Anna Carey. This was sent to me by Quirk Books, so thank you so much to them. Again, coming out November 17th. I'm so excited for this because it sounds just like the kind of thing I was into when I was a teenager. It says it's like Black Mirror meets My So-Called Life. It follows a girl who's supposedly like any other teenager trying to get through her junior year, but she lives in a small town. Things are getting weird. Conversations stop when she enters the room. And then one day, a tiny, sleek black device with an Apple logo on it falls out of her best friend's backpack and lands at Jess's feet. But the year is 1998. And the first iPhone won't exist for another 9 years. Intriguing, yes? I am very excited to read this one. Hoping to pick this one up in October. Okay, one other physical book that I was sent I forgot about. This is Marvelous Magnolia by Michelle Major. It's another holiday romance. This one was sent to me by Harlequin. I read the first book in this series earlier this year and really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to returning to this small town romance centering sister relationships. I think it's going to be probably a good time. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and talk about my NetGalley arcs. There are not as many as there were for September, which is great, but there's still quite a few. So here are the NetGalley arcs I'm planning to get to, minus one that I talk about in that other TBR video. First up, we have A Princess by Christmas by Julia London. I am hoping that I will enjoy this. It's the 3rd book in the series where I gave the first book 5 stars. I gave the second book 1 star. But I do generally like books by Julia London, and I think I have very particular issues with the second book in the series. This one is a holiday take on it, and it's a historical romance. Next up, I have Crazy Stupid Bromance by Alyssa K. Adams. I am sure I'm going to enjoy this one. I really have enjoyed this entire series by her, and I think this one is a Friends to Lovers, which I am always a fan of. So another entry in the Bromance book club series. Another one very high on the priority list is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I hear so many good things. Mara from Books Like Well loved this. I think I'm gonna love it too. This is a romance with a fat main character that I hear is done really well, and this one has a fandom aspect to it, which I am always here for. I think this is gonna be a home run. Cannot wait to get to it. I also have an e-arc of Over the Woodward Wall. This is, it's written under like a pen name, but Shauna McGuire is the actual writer of it. This is supposed to be the children's book mentioned in Middle Game. Now you might be thinking, but Bethany, you didn't really like Middle Game, even though it's very popular. And you're right, I didn't. It's like a rare book by her that I didn't end up liking, although I think for me it was because I thought it needed more work, but had good ideas. That said, I tend to like novellas from her. This one is a novella, and I liked the ideas in the book, and I have a feeling I'm gonna enjoy this one. So yes, I am still reading Over the Woodward Wall, and I usually am a fan of Shauna McGuire. Then we have Broken Wish, which is book 1 in the Mirror series. This one is being written by Julie C. Dow, but each book in the series is going to be written by a different YA author. I have generally really enjoyed what I've read from Julie C. Dow, and this is a series coming from Disney that is doing, I can't remember what it was, but I remember it sounded really intriguing, doing something interesting with the princess trope, and they're having different popular YA authors write each book in the series, so looking forward to that one. Next up is another Tor.com novella. This is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. This looks very interesting to me. It's kind of a satirical take on the KKK as a way of looking at issues of racism. I don't know a lot of details about it, but I've heard a couple of early reviews that make it sound really good. So hoping to pick that one up this month. Okay, 2 more and then we are done. First is one that I saw on NetGalley and I hadn't heard anybody talking about it, but it sounds really interesting. This is called The Haunting of Beatrix Green by, it's a collaborative work by Rachel Hawkins, Ash Parsons, and Vicky Alvier Shelter. I've read from Ash Parsons and Rachel Hawkins before, I think. And this sounds really interesting. They typically write YA, but I don't think this one is YA. I think it's like an adult gothic book, and the premise sounded really interesting. I think this one's interesting because it's getting released in episodes. Like it's not a typical publisher that's releasing it. If I remember, I will put it on the screen who's releasing it, but I think you get the entire thing in the NetGalley arc, and then it'll be released one episode at a time, which is kind of cool. That's how like Charles Dickens and a lot of Victorian authors released their work, where it was episodic and you would get a magazine or something publishing a section of what would eventually become a book at a time. Anyway, so this just sounded intriguing, so I'm gonna pick this one up. And then lastly, I am gonna be reading Beyond the Ruby Veil by Mara Fitzgerald. I am very intrigued by this. I don't want to know too much going in. It's a YA fantasy story of some sort that I hear is pretty dark and bloody and has surprising, shocking twists and isn't what you think it's going to be. So I don't know anything else about the plot. I kind of don't want to know too much more, but I'm really looking forward to this. And Mara Fitzgerald was one of the guests on the live stream I did with Janella Angelis, which I will link up above, as was Julie C. Dow, actually. And that was where I originally heard about this book and was like, yeah, I want to read that. So she sent me a link to the e-arc, so looking forward to checking that one out. There you go. Those are all the books going on my TBR for October. As usual, it's a little ambitious, but I have been really, really good in September. I've just been like knocking away at all of those too many arcs that I had requested, and I feel like I'm doing really good, and there is an end in sight where I'll be able to like read the things I want to read and not just the things that I like have to read. I mean, I'm still enjoying the stuff, but I like to have a little more flexibility in my reading than I've had the last couple months. It's my own fault, but yeah, everything got pushed to September, COVID, and then everything's coming out in September, but it is what it is. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on any of the books that I talked about today. And for your question of the day, let me know what you were excited to be reading in October. Is it going to be spooky reads? Is it going to be cozy reads? Let me know in the comments down below what your reading plans are. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.